So in case you haven't heard yet, Merch by Amazon is going to make a big change coming on the 3rd of January 2023. And it's not a good one for us sellers, unfortunately, because they're going to cut the royalties down for t-shirts in the US, in the UK, and in Germany. And in this video, I'm going to break down what those changes are going to look like, how much money you're going to lose essentially if you keep your prices the same. And also I'm not just going to give you the bad news, I will also give you some proactive tips or ideas of how you could sort of work against this loss of income essentially. So let's get started with the prices in the US. So here's a screenshot that I put together for you so we can go over this more easily, you can understand it better. We've got the top rows are essentially the new royalty structure for t-shirts in the US, and then the bottom shows the old way, the way we're used to it now. So if we look at the highlighted bracket here, that's if your shirt is priced at $19.99. From the 3rd of January, it's going to be $4.89 in royalties compared to the current $5.23. That means in a percentage that is going down 6.6% the royalty amount, and you're losing out on 34 cents on each sale. Now, what was quite interesting to see is that if you do the same equation for the shirts at $15.99, for example, then once again, we've got the royalties going down right here. They're only going down 28 cents compared to the 34 cents right here with the $19.99, but it's actually a higher percentage overall that you're losing in terms of royalties. If we go to the higher prices and do the same math, then the percentage goes smaller. So essentially, the higher you price your shirts, the less royalty you're going to lose, which is easier said than done. But that's just to make you aware of the fact that if you have a lot of shirts that are priced really low, obviously that's fine if you're in a lower tier and you want to just tier up. But yeah, the lower you price, the more percentage of income essentially you would lose. Now, what does this actually mean if you put it to practice? I've put together an example here. Let's say you have all of your shirts priced at $19.99. You get $1,000 in royalties paid out in the current year. Well, if you leave everything the same, then in the next year, that same amount of sales would generate $934 in royalties. So it's definitely not insignificant. It is going to impact your overall royalty income that you get from Merch by Amazon. If we look at the UK as well, it is a bit different here in terms of the numbers. For $19.99, it is also 6.6%, but for the cheaper priced shirts at $15.99, you're only losing 11% instead of 13%, which we had for the US t-shirts. If I just flick back to that, you can see right here 11 and 13, and the other percentage numbers are the same. At $19.99, you're losing 37 pence. Yeah, so quite interesting to see the comparison, that it's not the same for every marketplace, and it is actually the worst if we move over to Germany, because in the €15.99 bracket you lose 18%. Now, how these numbers exactly get together, I think it also has to do with the minimum price, because the minimum price that you can set in Germany is quite high, whereas in the UK it is quite low. So that probably has an impact on these percentage numbers. That would also explain why it's 8.8% right here that you lose out on for $19.99 priced shirts, which is a bit higher than the other marketplaces. But either way, Germany seems to have the biggest impact when you compare on an exact number to number match basis. So obviously this is quite annoying, but rather than being bitter about it, I think we should try and be better instead, because you can complain about this all day long, but it's not going to change. Instead, what are some proactive things that you can do to prepare yourself for this? First of all, obviously the most obvious answer, but I'm going to give you some more, is to just increase your prices. What I mean by this is mainly with your best sellers. This is something I've been testing out anyway throughout the past few weeks. Instead of having your best sellers priced at their usual $17.99 or $19.99, just add another $1 or $2 onto that and see if they still sell. I mean, I've been doing that with some of my shirts and they're still selling at $21.99. Obviously it helps you if they already have some reviews. So in the lower tiers, if you're still trying to tier up, I would just keep my shirts low anyway. Royalties shouldn't really matter at this point until you get to a higher tier, like tier 100. But overall, obviously increasing the price of your shirts will help combat this. Customers will adjust over time to the fact that t-shirts are just going to cost more. Like everything else, the price is going up due to inflation. Already buying like a $20 shirt is the norm, and it will be more and more common that we see t-shirts that are priced above that point. I understand it's sort of the common threshold, and it looks worse over 20 than under 20, but it's going to become more common, and you're going to have to try and price shirts that high, especially if they're already selling for you, to sort of go against this loss of income. Another way you could try and combat this is by just pricing your shirts higher when you upload them. So I typically upload my shirts at like $15.99 to sort of give an incentive for that first sale while it has no reviews, no BSR. And yeah, well, I'll just start uploading them at higher prices overall. I do play around with it anyway, but you can upload your shirts at $19.99 and still get first sale, especially if you're in the higher tiers. Just start doing that, especially if the lower price shirts are going to lose so much in terms of royalty percentage. I would also recommend to you looking into kids themed designs for the UK market, because whilst the UK has fairly similar royalties when it comes to adult clothing, there's actually a way higher royalty for kids sizes, because there's no tax in the UK being charged for kids clothing, and that means you can, I'm pretty sure you can price your shirt at $15.99 and make a $5 royalty, probably even after this royalty cut. So definitely kids niches are very interesting for the UK market, because they're going to help you raise that average royalty that you get per sale. Another tip that I thought about is you could change, rather than focusing on t-shirts, change the prices of your hoodies and sweatshirt, long sleeves, all of the other products essentially that come with Merch by Amazon, because even though they don't sell as often, rather than using the standard prices of, like, I think hoodies are priced at $31.99 for standard, and that makes about a $5 royalty. Rather than leaving them there, up the price to $39.99. They can definitely still sell at that price point. They do for me, and that's going to double your royalties for hoodies, and we could do the same strategy for sweatshirts. I know people don't buy them as often as t-shirts, but when they do, if you can up that royalty, you can sort of balance out the loss of royalty that you get for each t-shirt. Obviously this isn't ideal, because you might get less sales on hoodies if you price them higher, but in my opinion that's definitely a strategy that more people should adopt if they want to keep their royalty amounts the same. And the last tip, this is something that I talk about or recommend to people all the time, and I'm guessing a lot of you watching probably still haven't done this. So if you're selling on Merch by Amazon and you have never looked into any other marketplaces, then you definitely should. I would recommend starting off with Redbubble, TeePublic or Spreadshirt. Just pick one of them. They're fairly easy to upload to. You can use the same designs, you can use the same listing data, just upload your designs there as well, and sort of get the ball rolling for new income streams to be added to your Merch by Amazon one. Because if you start selling on a few other sites and you slowly build up your sales, then yes, like you might lose out on $60 on Merch by Amazon for every $1,000 that you earn, but you might also start earning $60 on other marketplaces every month. So it's definitely a good strategy to try out. Definitely start out just uploading manually so you get used to some other websites, and if you're already uploading to Redbubble, TeePublic, Spreadshirt and you're making a bit more money, then it might also be worth looking into upload automation. I personally use Flying Upload and I'm really happy with their tool. I've been using them for 2 years now, and that will help you upload to over 10 marketplaces. That definitely gives me a lot of reassurance, because you don't have royalty changes that much on these other marketplaces. You could also start with Etsy. That's got high potential because there's a lot of customers going to Etsy. Sort of in comparison to the other marketplaces, Etsy is I think second biggest in terms of potential after Merch by Amazon. It's a bit harder to get started because you have to pay for your own printing and shipping before you get paid from Etsy. It's not a royalty system like it is with Merch by Amazon, but the potential on Etsy is definitely really high. I've got multiple shops on Etsy that are getting me regular sales, so it's definitely one worth looking into if you have a bit more time at hand. If you want some more tips of how to get more sales so you can prepare yourself for this cut in royalties, then make sure to check out this video next, where I show you how to get to $100 per day on Merch by Amazon.